Y'all, you are busy, but you got bitten by that doula bug. You hear the calling. It is hard to shake once you decide you want to do this work. But the reality is, how are you going to fit this into your busy life? Because we juggle a lot. We're grown-ups. So let's get into how we can make that all work. So these timelines are really here to support you in, getting you towards completing your education, supporting birth, holding those delicious babies. Oh my God, that new baby smell. Imagine that's your job. How great is that? So, what training you're going to select is really your first hurdle. It's a little bit more complicated than you think, it shouldn't be this hard. I Google this all the time and I get confused, and I've been a doula for 20 years. The honest answer is really, you want a doula training that is going to align with your values and that is going to have mentorship. Some have, practice as part of it. Others don't. The length does matter. We're going to talk about that in this video as well. So as sexy as it can be to have those weekend trainings, the idea of like, ooh, I just gonna go in this weekend and then I'm done. It actually doesn't tend to work out like this. So let me switch over here so we can explore this. Okay. Where did I go? Okay. So if we're looking at a comparison between a weekend training and a longer training, so for example, the Babel Mia training, ours is 4.5 months long. So it's longer than a weekend. So the weekend is obviously like, it's 2 days and you're done. And you're like, oh, yay, I'm ready to get out there. But the reality is you are so wildly unprepared. So you usually do some like self-study. And then you realize you need like some continuing education. All of this is over months or maybe weeks, but like probably months. Then you take another course, or several. And all of this whole time you're like feeling really, there's a lot of fear. You're anxious. There we go. So like, you're not feeling great as you go through this process. And still you're like, I don't really know how to run my business. I don't really know how to work within the hospital system. I don't know that much about lactation. I don't know how to answer my clients' questions. I don't know how to get a client. All of these things are happening as these months go on. Versus a longer training, you're actually going to finish around the same time, but it's all in one. And at the end of it here, you're feeling like really confident. You usually have more of a community because of the programs. So I would highly recommend, even though it can feel really exciting, the weekend trainings have got to go. We have an open letter. We can look at it another time. I'll maybe make a different video with that. But the idea is that, we need to have more comprehensive education, because let's take it back. The history, I don't know if everybody knows this, but the history of the weekend training, it was actually created so that folks that were already working in community care or reproductive health, so like nurses, social workers, occupational therapists, massage therapists, those folks could go learn how to support birth or like the physiology of birth, but they already had a medical background or community care background. But now we have people that are like, oh, I work at a bank, but I don't want to anymore. Or like, I'm a barista, but I think I'd like to help people in a different way. And then they're going into a weekend training, which it's not possible to learn all the things you need to learn around anatomy and physiology, plus trauma-informed care, plus working within the hospital system, health and safety, how to run your business, how to get clients. Like you can't learn it in a weekend. And then you feel really insecure at the end of it. So, the question that we're looking at here is, how long does it really take to become a doula? And it's, once you go through a comprehensive program that provides mentorship, provides business support, teaches you how to get those clients, and then, sees you on your way. That's how long it takes to become a doula. So as I mentioned with our program, it's about 4 months, and then you get certified after that, after you do your cert requirements. But we have students that take clients while they're in their 4 months of training. We actually the semester before, we had somebody get 9 paying clients while she was in her program still. So I think she made something like $11,000 while she was still in school, which is really cool. I love that. So I know your finger is like hovering over the register button on maybe a shorter training or something that's kind of like quick and dirty. But we really encourage you to look into some of the longer programs. There's more, we have one, there's lots of other really wonderful programs out there. Because at the end of it, we really want you to feel supported and confident and like have the skills and knowledge that you will need in order to finish this work. Because there's a lot of self-work that goes into being a doula, because we have to heal our own wounds and our own biases and, get our ego to sit in the back seat while we're doing this work. And that takes practice and integration and mentorship and support. So as I mentioned, when we were kind of comparing those charts, the duration is about the same. I would say like at least 4 to 6 months, but you can be taking clients in that time. So sometimes when people are starting our program, they're like, oh, but I really wanted to like support my sister and she's due in 10 weeks. Like you'll have some of that knowledge. But like it does take that long for you to get the information, integrate, percolate, question it, explore it, and come back. That's why we have the classes go weekly like that. And then you don't have to do all that self-study that like, discovering that you have massive gaps in your information, and you usually discover it kind of on the fly when you're working with clients, which can be really embarrassing. It can be really stressful. It can do harm to your clients because you don't have accurate evidence-based information. And so that insecurity feeling, like we can just skip it and just like go for a more comprehensive training. And research shows that in professional education, when you do have that deeper learning, it does take longer. I'm trying to think of some of the other things. I actually made a list recently of all the things that are a weekend. There was like a rock polishing certification, the babysitter's course, like all these things that were like, they deserve a weekend. And I was like, doula work is not one of them. Like, we're working in a medical field. We're working in hospitals. We're working with doctors, nurses, midwives, other professionals, respiratory therapists, like all these folks. And the idea of us just like taking a quick and dirty cert, it just doesn't make any sense. Because, adults, we actually hit a limit at 2 to 3 hours, and we can't actually take in any more information. So within the weekend training, not only is it already really short, but you like hit your satiety every couple hours. And then you can't actually take in what's happening after that. So you might in the morning remember a couple things, and then after lunch you might after that break, but like really we can't just keep putting it in. So there's that part as well. So all of the programs that we have, we keep everything under 3 hours, most of them under 2. So most people, as I say, they'll complete their doula training and their certifications within a few months. You can be practicing when you're not certified. You just need to check your insurance, and we help you with all of those kinds of questions. One of the cool things about ours, I'm going to just keep plugging us, but we offer a free business school. So it runs alongside. So while you're doing your skills, you're also getting your business and like the little things that you can start doing, assuming you have very little time and no marketing budget. So we do all of that by design. And we also give free therapy, because one of the things, it actually took me way too long to discover this, but one of the things we noticed is that as people are learning about, say, medical autonomy, they're like, oh, I've just realized how often I've been medically coerced. And that can feel really stressful for them. So we started a training, like we were the first training organization, and we're still the only, that offers free therapy to all of our students and alumni. So even, if you're dealing with stressful clients or you have a loss or something like that, we want you to have the opportunity to come back and process, because healed healers do better work on this planet than unhealed, traumatized beings. So that's another little cool plug about a program. But y'all, honestly, if somebody is promising you, speed, they are not doing mastery. They are not scaffolding you to actually work within this really complicated field. And it was much simpler. It's way more complicated in the world that we're living in, especially for those folks in equity-seeking groups. So those would be racialized folks, queer folks, folks living in bigger bodies or fat, whatever language they prefer. People living with disabilities, both visible and invisible, under-resourced people, solo parents, single parents, people struggling either with recovery or active use, like that. The majority of people actually going through the system. And so we want you to make sure that you feel really well prepared to work within the realities of what the world for doulas looks like currently. Okay, so this leads us to our next big question, which is, can you do a doula training online? Or do you have to travel and attend in person, especially when you're exploring either a weekend or a longer training? So let's get into that next. See you there.